New Brunswick has a long and storied history of its beloved artists, and two of our most cherished have been teaching their discipline all over the world, with a deep connection to special places like San Miguel de Allende in the Bajío Mountains of Mexico. Mark Hemmings, Jamie Wilson, welcome to San Miguel de Allende.
Thank you, Matt.
Mark, can you paint the picture of where we are right now?
Yeah, so we're in Casa del Obraje, and this is the place where Jamie and I host our photo workshop students. And it's in a neighborhood called Obraje within San Miguel de Allende, which in itself is in Guanajuato state, pretty much in the middle of Mexico. It's a stunningly beautiful place. The scale of these buildings really lend themselves well for photography.
And Jamie, you've been running these workshops at San Miguel de Allende with Mark, barring a pause during COVID, for 16 years running.
16 years, correct. Mark and I had hooked up and I said, hey, there's a great place in Mexico that we both should go.
You travel all over the world doing your photo workshops. Why keep coming back to San Miguel?
If you find a place where every single turn of the road is another excellent photograph, then that is a place that you maintain. So we've never felt the need to leave San Miguel for these photo workshops. It's just so inspiring. The food is excellent, the weather is perfect, and it's a really good scenario for our photo workshop clients, actually.
San Miguel has a really long history of connecting to maritime creatives, artists of all kind.
Sure.
Maritime artists started coming sometime around World War II.
Right after the war. There was two art schools here at the time in San Miguel, and the Mexicans were becoming famous for their murals. So the first maritimer, I think, that came here was Ted Campbell. Mm-hmm. Then he and his wife came down, and they came every winter. And Ted encouraged all his fellow artist friends to come. Mm-hmm. So Fred Ross, who was my mentor ever since I was 17, came down here. He used to talk about the quality of light, in San Miguel. I remember that. And then another St. John artist, maybe the most famous, Miller Britton, ended up going to Mexico City to learn from the muralists. And then Jack Humphrey went to Texaco.
Mm-hmm. We managed to get some incredible photographs of the Palacio in Mexico City. And one of our famous maritime artists had visited one of these famous muralists there.
That's right.
Can you tell a little bit about that story?
That was my mentor, Fred Ross. Mm-hmm. When he came to San Miguel, he met Frida Kahlo here and asked where her famous husband was, Diego Rivera. She says, oh, he's in Mexico working. So Fred got on the bus and he went there. And he met him in the Palacio in the middle of the city, and it changed Fred's whole vision of how to paint murals. In fact, Fred is known as Canada's Mexican-style muralist.
Mm-hmm. So he was very inspired.
Very inspired.
Mm-hmm. Mark, we talk about these multiple generations of maritime artists coming through this part of the world. The first generation, the second generation, and now you carrying the torch for the third generation. Is there a fourth generation on the horizon? Will this inspiration continue in San Miguel?
Well, I hope so, because the maritime connection to San Miguel is very deep. My two daughters are excellent photographers. They love San Miguel, so who knows, maybe that generational line will keep going. The connection between the maritime provinces and San Miguel is very, very important.
You've been very inspired by San Miguel, but your work fundamentally is in the Maritimes. How has your career evolved, and what has it been like being a professional artist in the Maritime provinces?
When I'm in the Maritimes, I love to go, visit our many waterfalls, do these nature photo shoots. And I draw inspiration from what I see in the winter here in San Miguel and bring it back home, essentially. A lot of photographers may feel, I can't feel inspired in my hometown, and that's normal. However, I do feel that what I glean from here, I'm able to bring back. And I love going out doing waterfall shoots or nature shoots.
You teach internationally, but you've been able to double down on new technologies as well. How have you used social media to your benefit to be able to express your work?
Well, for one thing, I daily post to social media. Mm-hmm. I post instructionals, like little photo tips or techniques that I hope people will really enjoy. And I find that because I'll be posting from international locations, that my friends back home in the Maritimes, they'll be able to see, oh, what an interesting take or slant on what Mark is seeing. Maybe I can incorporate that into what I see in the Maritime provinces, for example.
Jamie, like Mark, you've been inspired by San Miguel, but your work also is fundamentally based in the Maritimes. Can you tell us a little bit about the evolution of your professional career?
I did work for my father doing commercial photography while I was young, but I left that. I made a decision to leave that and become a fine art photographer. That was my dream, and I made it happen. And it had a time when I moved to Hampton and lived on the edge of the Kennebecasis River. I built a natural light studio there, and I got really seduced by nature, and I started taking landscapes and then touring around the Maritimes. I love photographing landscapes. A lot of them panoramic and some of them with large format cameras.
Can we double click a little bit on your portrait photography? You've produced a book. You've had pretty significant reach, including the National Gallery. And am I correct in saying some of your work is even in embassies across the world?
First of all, the Natural Light Studio, that's where I took a lot of black and white portraits. I made a deliberate project to photograph New Brunswick people from all walks of life. I did that over a 25-year period. It was like a side project, and it all came to fruition in 2020 with the publication of the book and the exhibition that opened last year. But my landscape work is my money maker, and I had good fortune to have external affairs buy a number of my pieces and put them in Canadian embassies around the world, including the most recent one. It's gone into our embassy in Paris, France. That just happened last month. And these are large prints, they're 4 feet long, but they're all New Brunswick landscapes. And it's interesting to think that they're in these kind of prestigious Canadian offices.
Guys, it's really special for me to see San Miguel with you, to understand how you've been inspired by this incredible place, and that you're carrying on the legacy of maritime artists coming down to Mexico and being inspired and taking the work back home. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.